Good. So you have seen, few of them have written some test cases. Yeah, I mean, you can write like this. This is good. But see, thing is, you don't want to put too much time on writing just test cases. So what you can do is just put all of them into one one field, and they're saying that we tested positive scenarios, we tested negative scenarios, boundary values, images, links, URL, text, static text, dynamic text, and so on. Okay, um, because at the max, it's based on my experience. Okay, it's don't have to be that, but 20 is the max. You want to write test case for one, because you have to write test cases for different browsers. That is Firefox, Microsoft Edge. Um, if there's IE, then you have to also consider IE, and then Chrome. Then you have to also sometimes you have to also test in Mac. They'll give you some Mac directly to test in the Safari browser. So all this, when you're writing, it becomes too many test cases, right? So you can utilize the same test case, rechanging the name, putting the Chrome, putting Firefox, Safari, and use that, so that you want to save some time in writing, and then execution you can do a little, you'll have some good amount of time, because the point is, the end of the day, you have to come up with some defects. Okay, it's confirm with the lead saying that this is the defect. Once you confirm, you have to come up with defects. Okay, because that's what they pay you for, right? That's what the company is hiring you to show that application is broken. So that's how you need to work on that. Okay, so that's good. Can write this. Yeah, that's good. This is good. Um, this is really being elaborate, and that's good. Being elaboration is really helps you out. Okay, not just you. I mean, there's a lot of people who be looking at it, right? Developers and um, testers, and not just you and the developers. And your boss, actually, your boss will look at your work, and if they feel really it's good work, they will be happy, right? If they cannot do anything. Once you get a job, once they see, okay, you're doing well than anyone else, then so you'll be in a better position. So that's the point. Okay, this is good. No, this is good. Yeah, this will be obviously a defect, but you have to confirm, you know, because if you're shopping online, if it's not HTTPS, now that's really not a good idea to shop, right? Because you're giving a lot of information. You're giving your credit card information. Right? You might have shopped online, right? You are giving your credit card, your address, and if it's like sensitive information, very sensitive, like SSN, you don't want to do that without HTTPS either way, right? So if you are using not secure and giving credit card information, that's really not a good idea, right? Now, there is no company in United States or anywhere else. Matter of fact, if you're giving some information, okay, it's not HTTP. There's no reason to have HTTP. It has to be HTTPS, right? Um, so if it's okay, so that's very important to have, that URL is not secure, and no customer would like to make a transaction. So it's not just in the case, right? It recently, like somewhere I've seen that somebody, some people were actually having problem to looking the website. So they were selling some glasses like goggles and goggles or something else, and they saw that it's not HTTPS. And there's the person who commented there saying that it's not HTTPS. How would I make sure that my transaction will be secure, right? So those guys replied, and they came up with something, but that's how the scenario is, right? I mean, you don't want to shop when URL is not secure. Okay, good. So this is good. I hope few people got the point. Okay, how it's supposed to do, and how you're going to do. Okay, so what today? Let's see here. So today we'll discuss about agile. So we talk about SDLC process, right? So today we'll talk about agile methodology. So let's see here. Yeah. So we'll talk about this agile, and so agile is actually you know it's an iterative and incremental process. Okay, agile is iterative and incremental process. So this has agile has many subdivisions, right? It has various modules like Scrum. You see here, let's see here. Yeah, so we are here in the Scrum. There is something called Kanban. Okay, and there's also XP, that is extreme programming, and I'm not sure all of them, but these are the various uh, you know modules in agile. So if you say it's someone like I'm working on agile, it's just a very high level word. Okay, so this agile, nobody knows what is actually you're doing in agile. It's a RAD, it can be RAD, rapid application development, or it can be extreme programming, it can be Scrum. So here we'll talk about the Scrum, because the Scrum is more. So if you know the Scrum, so the rest of them are similar. Not same. It's just it will be similar. Like the process here in the Scrum is little bit more elaborated in here. So in remaining is not too much of not too descriptive. Okay. Here the Scrum is specifically because it's more famous, and it has more elaborate word, because it's a kind of ceremonial kind of thing where people have to gather, have to say what updates, what update is going on with the project, what's going on with the your work. So that's the reason. This Scrum. We'll talk about this Scrum. If you know the Scrum, we'll talk about this Kanban. It's pretty simple. Once you know Scrum, we'll talk about this. Okay, Kanban, and see, if we can, it's similar. We can able to see. We'll have this, UI. Okay, the UI, the way we do it. Okay, so let's see here. Scrum. So again, what is this? It says framework. It's a framework in a software development. Okay, so all these methodologies from 2 days we are talking about SDLC, STLC. So these are the methodologies. Okay, so this is not something a software. This is not something a tool that give me access. I'll work on it. No, it doesn't work that way. It's a framework or it's a system. You are in the system, right? So you have to understand the system. Although it should be a Scrum, it should be extreme programming, it should be Kanban. You are not the one who has to decide it. It comes from the management perspective. But since we are in the system, we have to know how this thing works. Okay, so that's the main theme about methodology. Okay, so here let's see here. Let's go to. Okay, first let's talk about this. Various terminologies. Okay, so there was actually before it was a little bit detailed. Now they have actually edited too much here. Okay, so here let's talk about various terminologies. Let's talk about who is actually the product owner. Okay, business analyst in waterfall methodology is called product owner in agile methodology. Okay, you can correlate that. Although the term is different, also the responsibilities are also a little bit different other than business analyst. Okay, so if you say someone product owner, that means they are talking about business analyst. We know business analyst because waterfall is more old framework and everyone knows but here in agile we call it as product owner, no business analyst. Okay, nobody says business analyst, they say product owner. Who is the product owner for this? Who is the owner of the stakeholder? Who is the stakeholder? Okay, so that's what the term here we call it as product owner. You want to see what are the responsibilities and see try to understand that. You don't have to go in detail, but you want to understand what's the roles and responsibilities of a any, as a matter of fact, any it can be product owner, it can be it can be scrum master, and so on. But you want to see what's their responsibilities. Okay, so the reason you want to know this, see what happened, right? Whenever you go, so agile is really it's in development process. Okay, the people are not sure about their own responsibilities. So that's the problem. So let me give you an example here. What happened, right? So I used to work one of the company, and I opened a defect. Okay, I opened a defect, and what happened? I talked to the developer. Developer said, "No, I'm busy." So they always say, "Right, I'm busy. I don't have time for your work, but I have to close this defect. It has to go into production, and a lot of things." So I went two, 3 times. He said, "No, I don't have time. I'm working on production issues. I'm working on other tickets. I don't have work for your tickets." So okay, that's fine. So what I did is I went to Scrum Master. I get the defect. This is the defect number. Can you follow up with the developer team? Okay, and you know what? They said okay. So they didn't know what to do, because they don't know the responsibilities. They are working on agile, but they don't know what to do. They just told me the boss, and my boss called, "Hey, can you stop by my desk?" So, why did you give to Scrum Master? Okay, my boss next moment told to me, "Why did you give to? Who told you to give to this Scrum Master?" So now my response here is, what? Based on my experience, based on my knowledge, Scrum Master is a bridge between the developers and testers. So if developers don't respond, because they have a lot of work, right? They don't respond. Now what I have to do? I have to go to Scrum Master and give them and see if they can follow up. Okay, so this is here. This is the responsibility here. You see this? Helping the Scrum team to avoid or remove impediments to this process, whether internal or external. So this is the responsibility of the Scrum Master, right? So that's how I convinced my boss, saying that based on my experience, a Scrum Master is a bridge between the testers and developers. So you cannot really ignore this, saying that now I cannot give to Scrum Master because Scrum Master has to know what's going on, right? So they don't know their own responsibilities. So as a matter of fact, you are the one who should know all this, right? Because you have to convince your boss, saying that this is how it should be, right? Developer won't respond, that's fine, no problem. Why don't Scrum Master follow up? Because Scrum Master they have to move the project, move forward, right? They cannot just lag behind. So they will help you out. And where it is, here you see here. This is this is their responsibility, helping the Scrum team to avoid or remove impediments to its progress. If your boss says something, if you know where you have seen, let's say you have seen somewhere else, you just send them, hey, you know what, this is what the responsibility of Scrum, or why don't you look into it? Okay, if your boss says something like this, you can tell them. So that's the main important thing about knowing what's the responsibility. So if you know the responsibilities, what they're trying to do, if your boss says something which you don't understand, you can just see this. Okay, hey, you know what? I've seen this. This is how it should work. Okay, this is the job of the Scrum Master. This is the job of product owner. This is the job of architect. This is the job of developer. Okay, so that's how you can relate it, and okay, I can present it. So that's how it will be at your work, right? At the work, you have to be very careful because whatever actions you are doing, you have some evidence of showing that this is it, how it works, right? And so that it will be helpful for you. Okay, so that's the job of a product owner. Product owner is actually a stakeholder. Okay, is actually business analyst. So normally, if you call business analyst in waterfall, here you call as product owner, no more business analyst. These are the responsibilities. Okay, now they actually take the requirements. It's always the requirements has to come from them, not from anyone else, right? Now, what's the requirement? What they're talking about, and what we are trying to do here. Okay, so if you have any questions, which are also sometimes the questions are not related to developer, right? The product owner has to answer. How's the business want? Does this business want this kind of application? Does the business wants this buttons all over the place? Does the business want? So what kind of things? So sometimes testers also have questions, not just related to developer, because developer cannot answer it because no proper documentation, no proper So you have to reach out to product owner to see if they're able to answer what's there about, because no proper if it's not documented in requirement or any functional requirement, then you have to approach it. Okay, so that's the product owner. Then you have this development team. Okay, development team, it's sometimes, see, if you're working in agile, it's a small team. Okay, 4 to 5 members, that's it. You don't want to go beyond 10 members. Okay, so you might have web developer, you might have HTML developer, you might have Ajax developer. But the point is, if you open some defect, it might relate to some other developer which is not there in your team, right? In that case, you have to approach to other team members who are actually the owner of that particular application, owner of that particular defect, right? So okay, you may not always have this freedom of approaching directly. So you want to talk to your Scrum Master, saying that this is the issue. Can I know? So I don't see anyone in my team, because we don't have Java developer and this defect is Java. So how would I approach? So if you give to the Scrum Master surely is supposed to help on this. Okay, so that's the development team. Okay, then coming up to Scrum Master. So as you know, Scrum Master major and important job is to help the team to remove the impediment. Impediment means it can be defect, it can be issue, it can be coordination work. Okay, so all those things. Sometimes they don't respond. You have to put CC to everyone. Put CC to Scrum Master. Their boss, sometimes you have to also put their boss, saying that their boss has to know what's going on with this, because that is all taken care by the Scrum Master. They will put all this their boss and their boss, and they put CC everyone, like 20 to 30 members, and sometimes it also involves a group. So all this is taken care by the Scrum Master, not you. If you reach out to Scrum Master, they are supposed to help you out with this issue. Okay, so that's a job of a Scrum Master. And these people, and Scrum Master is also responsible to hold various meetings like Scrum meeting, Scrum planning, grooming sessions, sprint retrospective. All these meetings, everything is, Scrum Master has to take care of it. Okay, most of the time Scrum Master will be a developer. Okay, because a developer who has some significant knowledge of code and what's going on will be, but in the rare cases there can also be testers. Okay. So here, if you see, there is no testers, right? If you see this, if you see this, there is no tester here. So here's the point. In Agile, there were, so the way these things work, they're trying to remove these testers completely. Okay. If you see, there's no testers here, but you cannot remove testers just like that. Okay. Now, there's the point, right? Let's say your boss, when you're interviewing, no, we are not looking for testers. Developer will be doing testers. Developer will be doing testing. Okay. We don't want any testers. Okay. So that's what your boss will ask, or as a matter of fact, interview also, they can tell you outright, no, we are not looking for any testers. We are only looking for developers. Okay. So in that case, what you have to answer is, developer, even if the developer want to test, they test based on business perspective. Okay, they take what's the business and what they're trying to do. Okay, that's a job of a developer. And whenever tester tests whenever tester tests, they test based on customer point of view. You see the difference. Okay. Even if you give all the job to the developer will not able to see all the features, all the functionalities, and all the. You need to have a different team for a testers, because you cannot just say testers will be all testing will be done by the developers, because even if the developer does it, it does business perspective. That means code is good, yeah, code is very good, there's no bug in the code, but really they are not viewing that a customer point of view. At the end of the day, it's a customer, right? It's a customer, no business, no no internal people, no external people, just a customer who is using that application. Okay, that's the reason you need testers. You cannot eliminate testers just like that, because testers test an application based on customer point of view, and developer, even if the developer want to test, they test business point of view. Okay, so that's the reason. So if somebody asks a question like this, no, we don't want testers, no, we have enough developers, and developers will be working on this testing process, then you have to explain this, to the person who is saying that, because as a matter of fact, you cannot eliminate testers, okay, completely. You might have less testing based on the load of work. Okay, let's say 2 testers, 3 developers, 1 tester, or 2 testers. Okay, and the Scrum Master. Okay, so that's how. But you cannot really no testers. No, that thing will not be doing good for sure. Because at the end of the day, the production issues. If there are production issues, somebody else find that issues, then it will be a big problem. The company pays a lot of, as we have example we have seen, right? So let's say who doesn't agrees to my point, right? I'm giving an example here. For example, 23 stock 23, and we are putting 100, and the application is going through, right? Now developer doesn't care all this. The developer is nowhere bothered about it. Developer only views what does they view? They view only this. Okay, is my code good? Yeah, it looks good. No, nothing wrong. The code is brilliant. Yeah, that's fine. That's good. But they're really not worrying about customer point of view. Okay, if no one, if anyone doesn't agree to my point, here is an example. Okay, if you have better example, please let me know. Okay, that no developer is can do testing and testers cannot do testing. Okay, so if anyone has better example, please let me know. Okay, but here is my example that you cannot eliminate testers because testers does testing as a customer finder. Okay, so these are the roles and responsibilities. Then we'll go to let's go to meetings. Okay, so there's plenty of meetings in the Scrum. So that's what the Scrum is famous for, because there are a lot of meetings here. Okay. Okay, so here there's something called sprint. Sprint is actually the it's a time. Sprint is actually called as it's a time. It can be 1 week, 2 week, or 1 month. Okay. Okay, that's what you call as sprint. Okay, let's see here. It's a time box. That means in one sprint. That means this much time you have then what the work you have done. Okay, so that's what it called as a sprint. Okay, so we'll just go to different. So there is something called backlog. So let's before going to meetings, let's try to understand this terminology. There's something called sprint, which is time boxed unit. Okay, in that sprint you have to do complete your work. It can be 1 week, 2 weeks. As a ease of convenience, will take 1 month. Okay, let's say the sprint lasts for 1 month. Sprint means that means you have that much time. Okay, now backlog. So backlog. Now you have how you understand this backlog is requirements, right? And then there's something called high level requirements, and this is something called very high level requirement. Okay, backlog is something like very high level requirement. Okay, now this can be this can be as high level as one line statement in Excel sheet. Okay, it can be like design demo online. Okay, it can be that high level. Since we know GMO Online, we know it's a web application. It has various images, has various buttons, URLs, so on and so forth. But design GMO Online. Now, if you write that one line, it doesn't contain any technical information there. See this? Of course, it's good for writing a story. It's kind of backlog is kind of stories, right? So this is not it should contain. This is not all this, but it doesn't contain any kind of technical information. So if someone tells, okay, write test case, this is a backlog, no, that's not going to happen. Why? Because backlog doesn't contain any technique. Okay, in some process they might contain, okay, but it doesn't contain technical information to write your test cases. Okay, you cannot start writing your test cases just by giving the backlogs. Okay, that's not possible. But still you have to understand it, what's going on, so you want to know it. So it's a backlog is high level requirement. Okay, it's a high level. So this backlog has to break it down into various sprints. That means, as I told you, design GM Online is a backlog. Now it has to do various sprints because GM Online contains various URLs, like various navigation URLs. Let's say 5 to 6 URLs. That means 5 to 6 months. Okay, one URL will take just 1 month because development has to concentrate, development has to work a lot of things and testing has to be done. Okay, so one URL, 1 month. Okay, so that's how you have to divide the backlog into various sprint, and that sprint we have to divide into various user stories. That's how you have to write your test cases based on the user stories, but not on the backlog. Let's take and see an example here. Let's try to understand this. Here it is. Okay, and now this is a backlog. This is a product backlog. Okay. So see here. So this is the product backlog. Okay. So these are the product backlog. Let's say you have this. No, let's ease of example with just taking as one backlog. This one block. Okay. There are various blocks. 4 blocks, right? See this 4 blocks. Okay. These 4 blocks, and let's say each block is divided into 4 sprints. Okay, 4 sprints. That means 4 months. Okay, we'll take an example. It's not necessarily just 4 months. I'm taking for ease of convenience. It might be one sprint can last for 1 week, 2 weeks, or it's up to how the project is going to handle. So that's the main thing. But for ease of convenience, we'll take as 1 month. Each sprint. So if you see this, each sprint, let's say 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and 4 months. So 4 different sprints. Okay, 4 different sprints. You say this sprint backlog, and it goes into 4 months. Okay, and we have, let's say we take one sprint, 30 days, and you have to complete this, and deliver this project. So that's how this process works. Okay, and here is nowhere the user stories. User stories you have to design in the sprint itself. Okay, in one sprint, how many user stories? 10 user stories, 15 user stories, are it's not supposed to go more than 10 user stories, because then you're doing it wrong, because you have to get it one more team and work on this user stories. Okay. That's a very good question. Somebody asked, right? In Scrum, what's the size of the testing team normally, and is the test lead and test plan document on? That's a very good question. Now, in Agile, right? Let's talk about documentation. In Agile, they're trying to remove all these documents. Okay, test plan document, test strategy. They're trying to eliminate all these things, but really, it's not possible completely. But yes, there will be minimal documentation. So if you have any questions, you have to reach out to developer, reach out to your lead. Okay, they might have lead may not be helpful at this point of time, because so far if there is a lead, that's fine. Sometimes the agile is a little bit flexible. That's good. If the agile is a little bit more aggressive, in that case, you have to reach out to Scrum Master. Scrum Master is supposed to know. But you can reach out to lead if you have any questions on that. Okay, the agile is a little bit, there's a various way of doing this agile, but if it's flexible, then you can reach out to lead. If not, then you have to reach out to Scrum Master. And the screen, and the team size, it depends. So I would say it should not go more than beyond 6. Beyond 6, and if you're having 10, then you're really working in chaos, because 10 people working on, you have to split that into a different team again. That means one team has to contain Scrum Master, one Scrum Master, 2 developers, okay, one web developer, and let's say Java developer, and 1 tester. Okay, at the max 3 developers. Let's say 3 developers: ETL developer, Java developer, web developer, and 1 tester, 2 tester. That's it. If you're going beyond that, then you will be get confused. You have too many user stories, what to work, what not to work. Developers will be confused that which is the user story you have to do, which is not the user story. Okay, so a lot of things. So in that case, if it's more than 10 people, then you have to divide into another team. If you use a team, that will be more simple, because there's a lot of chunk of work, right? You have to divide this as per the team level. Okay. Does it make sense? So even if you're working on a test plan, test strategy document, it will be all, again, even if they're documenting it, it will be all there in the SharePoint. Okay, so we'll talk about this SharePoint probably tomorrow. So even if it is there, and if it is not, you have to look for it, and you have to check if there's, sometimes you can do your own research. If you have access to a SharePoint, you can view there and see if there is any documents for this. Okay, so that's how you have to look for it. Okay, so that's about various backlogs. Okay, so now let's go to the meetings. Okay, what are the meetings we'll be having? So these are actually the product artifacts. These are called artifacts. Product backlog, sprint backlog, user stories, all this. And there's something called implement. So implement. So there is also actually an artifact. So implement is actually anything which is which can be issue, which can be defect, which can be coordination, or anything which is related to the project is called impediment. Okay. So there's no defect. They don't call defect here. They call it as impediment. That is stopping you to do your work. Okay. So that's an impediment. Okay, so let's go to various meetings here. So let's talk about these meetings. So here you have this. So you know sprint, right? It's a time, and then is something called the sprint planning. Okay, sprint planning is so whenever you get a new sprint, you have to come up with sprint planning. So whose job is this? This is the job of a scrum master who will be actually planning this, how the sprint, okay, about the sprint. So what do you exactly talk about this? So in the sprint planning is where which user stories has to go which, based on the priorities, which sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, which user story has to go which sprints, all those things, and how many user stories we are having in, who is the developer actually for that, and who is the testers, and all those things will be done in the sprint planning session. Okay, normally it's a voting kind of thing. Okay, voting in sense, now it says the scrum master will say how much time will you require for development and testing this particular user story. Okay, how much time will team requires to complete this whole user story. That includes development and testing, and if there is any coordination, also that. So now developer says no, 5. Okay, 5 days. Okay, if the developer says 5, that means they say 3 days for development and 2 days for testing. Okay, they also include that. That doesn't mean only development. Okay, they say 5. Now the Scrum will be saying, Scrum Master will be saying, no, we don't have that much time for this user story. This is very simple. This is not complicated, and you have to complete that before that. Now there to somebody has to there to support his reason, because see here the show is running by developers, okay, not by the testers, because testers don't have much knowledge on this application and what's going on with it, right? So all this show will be running on by developers. So they will argue that now we have a lot of coordination work, there's a lot of ETL process, we cannot complete this Java development until this ETL process is completed. So we have to, and we have a lot of objects and classes which we have to pull out, and a lot of code work is there. So that's the reason we cannot complete in less than 5 days. It has to be 5 days. That's 3 days for development and 2 days for testing. Now Scrum Master will agree. Okay, that's good. If you have a lot of work, then okay, go ahead. Okay, somebody has to support that, not that guy. Let's say developer manager. Okay, the sprint planning is really careful. Not everyone are invited here, but only developers, testers. If developer manager is really good at development, then they are invited. Otherwise, no managers, no test managers, no. Okay, it's not their job to come into sprint planning session. Okay, this is what they talk. Okay, let's say they have to complete this, and let's say dev managers comes into the picture saying that no, we do require this 5 days because we have a lot of work and we cannot complete before that. A lot of code has to get checked out, and a lot of coordination is required. So now Scrum Master agrees with that. Okay, good. So we are going with 5. Okay, so that's how all this sprint planning. So normally developer runs the show, okay, because they know a lot of here, but also you need to understand what you are going to test and what is not to test and all those things. Okay, you have to confirm with them. And so user stories, so normally user stories will be there. You have to read the user stories and try to understand what's going on and what you have to test in that. So that's the point. Okay, and this will be pretty long. This will be, they take up to 3 to 4 hours. Okay, and they'll make sure that they'll make use of your lunchtime. So it starts from like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. It will be pretty long. So sometimes it gets completed early if it's good, but otherwise it takes at least 1 hour. At least 1 hour it will go for this sprint planning. So this is called sprint planning. They organize all those user stories, which is the priority user story, and which has to go first. They see in this sprint, and if it is least priority, then they'll put that user story into next sprint. So all this thing is done by the Scrum Master, and they will decide which has to go where. Okay. So let's go to the next meeting. So this is every month. Let's say your sprint is, you have every sprint every month one sprint, right? So in that case, this will be every month. Or if you have every 2 weeks of sprint, then you'll be having every 2 weeks, you'll be having this sprint. Okay, so expect this every month. Okay. Now let's say this daily scrum. So daily scrum meeting is, the name itself, right? It's a stand-up meeting. It's sometimes called a stand-up meeting. And what they discuss here, they talk about 4 important things. What have you done yesterday? What are you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow? Right? And what are the impediments that is stopping your work? 4 important things. What have you done yesterday? What are you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow? And what is the impediment that is stopping your work to do, right? So these 4 important things they will be talking about. And this doesn't last for 15 minutes. If it's going more than 30 minutes, then you're doing something wrong. Okay, it should be quick and 15 minutes every day. And you cannot skip this. No, your Scrum Master will be waiting for you. Every day we'll be having, it usually starts from 9 a.m. 9 to 9:15. That's it. You have to close by 15 minutes. That's it. At the max 20 minutes, but you're not going more than 30 minutes. If you're going that, you're doing something wrong. Okay, so you have to close it by 15 minutes because a lot of work will be there, right? Too many meetings. Okay, so this is the daily scrum. Let's see here. Let's see here. And who is invited here? Not all of them. Okay, developers, testers, product owners, and no managers, no boss here, no boss. Okay, see here now there's a scrum master, there will be a developer, there's a tester, and they'll be talking about what are you going to do today, and what are the user stories you're working on, and how many user stories are you going to test on this, how many are you developing on this. So this is what they'll be talking about. Okay, that's the daily scrum meeting. Then there's something called sprint review and retrospective meeting. Now this meeting is at the end of the sprint. Okay, let's say you have completed 1 month of the sprint, and you have to, go to the sprint review and retrospective. And what you talk about this, and you say what went good, what didn't go good, and what didn't go good. How can we improve on that? Okay, 3 important things you have to talk on this. So this is organized. All these meetings are organized by Scrum Master, and they will ask you the question. So how about your user stories? How did it go? What testing difficulties were you faced about? Did the team coordinated properly? Did they gave you the work properly, or all those things? What happened to the user story and how it was going? How long did it take? Did we complete cycle properly? So all these things, right? Is they'll be talking of this into sprint review and retrospective meetings. And this is the end of the meeting. So once the sprint is done, so that they'll make sure the next meeting they'll see that doesn't happen that. Okay, so that's the reason you have this. Because a lot of issues will be there, right? They want to make sure that it goes smoothly. They don't want no issues in between. Okay, so these are the various meetings in Agile. Any questions? Sprint review and retrospective is the one word. It's not one word. It's okay. The review and retrospective is one meeting. It's all this is one, not two. Okay, two different words, but meeting is one. So it's kind of review. Okay, review what's going on and what's and how can we improve that didn't go well, all those things. So this happens mostly in Scrum. That's why the Scrum is more, it's more famous because of a lot of meetings. And there is, okay, I forgot about this. So there might be one more meeting. It's not here. is called grooming session. Okay, it can be like similar to sprint planning. If you didn't, complete this all in the sprint planning session, then you also have this grooming session. Like, okay, now we are moving this user stories from here to here because priority got changed. Business wants this user stories to be completed first, so we are, reprioritizing it and, making sure this is all is completed in this sprint. So in that case, you want to have this sprint grooming session and say that everything is juggled up and everything is changed. So now we are making it, again back to the same thing. Okay, here it's not there, but there's also called sprint grooming, where you will be. It's not all the time. It's not all the time. It's only when you require business wants more work, or it has to be done properly. In that case, you want the sprint grooming, and they'll follow the similar process like sprint planning. Any questions so far? Okay, so here, so let's say how this, okay, so we have different charts, right? So we have charts. So, I guess you guys have seen some of the chart. Okay, let's see here. Burn down chart. Okay, so since you already know, I hope you guys have seen this report section. This is the same chart what we have this in Rally. See this? So let's say here. So now one chart for this, that means, so what I do is go to the reports, and so you see this lot of, charts. So this is the same thing, what we have this one. Okay, so this is a burn down chart, which is plotted in the number of days and the remaining effort. Okay, and this straight line is green color line. You see this? That is ideal burn down chart. Okay, it's ideal, but doesn't happen ideal because you might get a lot of issues, a lot of coordination. So that's how, the blue color, right? It goes ups and downs and ups and downs. Okay, so this is how, the actually in Rally it's plotted automatically. You don't need, traditionally what used to happen, right? Scrum Master was supposed to get this chart, and they have to print out in plotters, and there's a plotter, right? A big chart and stick on the walls, and see that, when the inspection, when CFO or CIO used to come with the inspection, they have to see, okay, what's going on with this, how is your team doing, what are you, going. So all these things used to be done like this traditional way. But now it's no more. Why? Because it's already here. The Rally itself plots for you, right? If you want to see this, you have this access, right? This CFO, CIO will be having this access. Why don't you see online? Okay, everything will be shown here in this online, right? Let's see here. Let's say if I want to see here, okay, how much defects it is, how much this process is taking me. So, they can see right here. They don't need any plotters. They don't need any, um, because this, if you are using that, so it will decrease the efficiency, right? The efficiency of it, because all the time you're spending only just plotting on this. But here everything is done by online, so you don't need any more just tools. I'm sorry, you don't need any plotters. You don't need this lot of paper and a lot of things, right? This is the traditional way. Traditionally, they used to do it. Okay. Burn down chart. Then you also have burn up chart. Okay, so this is how it's going plotted, and so that is how, various charts. Okay, it's just not burn out and burn up. You can see much more here. Okay, we want to see iteration burn down, iteration burn up, velocity chart, iteration. You want to see this how it is plotted. You want to know how this, what is the x-axis and what is the y-axis. That should be good. Okay, Here they are plotting with iteration, how many iterations and what is the velocity. That means how much time you are spending on that. Okay, so that's how you want to know. Otherwise, these are all charts are here, right here. You don't have to do. Although you might not have access to this because this is all done by the Scrum Master, but you can still have we'll be viewing this. Okay, so that's the one thing. And let's see now again. Now this is how this traditional way used to do. So they used to have this board. So how they used to work in Agile, right? So they used to have this board. Okay, this is a board. And now you have these various columns, right? Let's see here. Let's see these various columns. The first column is of the stories. This is the user stories. You know user stories, right? We worked on the user stories. So that's the same user stories. You see this? Second user stories, third user story, fourth, so on. Okay, so these are all user stories. Okay, so what is this user story? It's a requirement. So this is a technical requirement where you can view it. As a tester, you can view it and see what's going on with it, how many, what you have to do, and read the information, what is there. Okay, so that's the stories. And to do. So there is a column called to do. That means, of course, obviously, whenever a user story has been picked, like the developer has to start its work first, right? Without development, he cannot test. So you are not the one picking up the first user story. Developer will be one. So let's say, I'm working on this user story. I'm working on this. So developer, obviously, even if you are a tester, you cannot pick it because development is not completed. How can you test it, right? So obviously, a sticky note, will be put here by the developer saying that yeah, I require 3 days of time, as I told in the sprint planning, that I require 3 days and 2 days for testing. So they will put some number here, some place they put number and say 3, and next day they will strike it, put a 2, and next day they strike it 1. How much time they have covered? Okay, so that's the to do. Okay. And once it's done, then it's moved to the in progress. The developer says, yeah, I've completed this, put in progress. So, so I mean, this is to organize how many developers are working, how many, once it goes into once it goes to in progress, they put the numbering system there. Okay, 3, 4, and how much time they will require to put in the progress. And once it's completed in progress, it goes into testing. Now here is the thing where again you start, tester starts with a different sticky note, okay, not blue color, maybe some other color, and put it and say that's testing. We are doing in this testing view. Okay, now you have 2 days of time, you have to complete in 2 days. Okay, so once it's done, so you have to complete the testing. And once it's done, there is a third column that completed, that this whole user story is completed. That means development and testing is being completed. So this is the traditional way of doing this. They have this board and all this when they are updating all this they are updating in daily scrum meeting. Daily scrum meeting they discuss, right? What you have done today, what are you going to do tomorrow, what have you done yesterday, and what are the impediments that is stopping you to do your work. All this, user stories are updated daily basis in the Scrum meeting. That's called stand-up meeting. Does it make sense? So this is the traditional way, actually. Okay, but you know what? Again, you don't have to depend on traditional. Rally is way more better. Okay, you don't need this board anymore. When you just put the board, and Scrum Master has to struggle under getting a board, putting that user story, has to work, late hours after 5. No more required that, because you see the user story. You have this user story here. Okay, if you want to document how much work you require, then as you can see, we have that like something called task. Okay, so that you can view this as a this to do work. You see this task, right? now which is the state. Okay, this, here if you want to analyze this, okay, you have this defined. That means here in the board, right? That means it is in to do process, right? And if it is in progress, that means it is in progress, right? And this is one more completed. Completed means they don't have this testing because testing, we are the testing, so they don't do it. So here is completed. So that's how you can utilize this task instead of using the traditional board. Okay, and how much time is required? See this here used to use in days. That's fine. Here we are talking in the hours. Okay, 10 hours, 15 hours, whatever the time is. Okay, so all this we are documenting in in this Rally. So Rally is pretty much good for all these things. Okay, unless you're going to traditional way, this is how you have to do if you're doing it traditionally. So I mean, it's not just Rally. I'm just giving an example. I'm not just saying that you can do everything Rally. You can also do in TFS, that is Team Foundation Server. That we'll talk about this in the last class. And that is more good for Kanban. Rally is more good for Scrum. Why Scrum? Because Scrum involves a lot of people. Kanban is good for small teams, 3 to 4 people. So Scrum gets more than 5 people, 6 people, right? Rally is still good. Rally is still good. As a matter of fact, we need a waterfall methodology. Okay, but it's better in Scrum. Rally is good for Scrum. Okay, then you have Jira. Jira is good for both. You have this option there in the Jira saying that waterfall. So we'll talk about this Jira probably tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. Okay, and so we'll see how the process in the Jira. And you have this both waterfall. You can do both waterfall methodology and as well as Agile. Okay, so that is good for Kanban as well as for Scrum. Okay, and TFS, Team Foundation Server, which we'll talk about that tool. That is good for Kanban. Not that it cannot do Scrum, but it's more more better using that tool for that particular process. Why? Because Kanban utilizes small team. So small team, the way the work is organized, this is good. And large team, the way this work is utilized here is good. You see this large, even if you open plenty of, let's say if you open plenty of defects, okay, let's say a lot of people are working here. So you can see this by name, okay, who is submitted and who is working on, so you can, immediately see, or you can just, put search option and see who is working on what. That will be more easy. So that's the reason this is more good for Scrum. Does it make sense? So everything here, you don't have to use this large board anymore. You can use Rally or any other tool. Don't have to be Rally. Jira, even Jira does that. HPLM is more for a waterfall, so you don't want to expect a lot of doing in Agile will be an hard work, not smart work. Okay, you want to do smart work, right? So in that case, a different tool would be much more better. And not that HPLM doesn't do it, but it's good for waterfall. That's what I can say. Okay, but if you are using Agile and all other methodologies, then you have to use okay. So in that case, you have to depend on too much of traditional way of doing, because you have to use this board and plot this. All these graphs can be plotted with HPLM but cannot be viewed properly. So in that case, you want to use this lot of plotters and put draw these plotters and put in the balls, or even if not balls, then you have to put in SharePoint and give access to people saying that okay, this is what we have done, this is what it is. Okay, but that will be too much work. Okay, So that will only increase the work, but not, and also it decreases efficiency because you're working on this more than working on issues or impediments. Then obviously efficiency decreases. That's the thing. Any questions so far?
Uh, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, in Scrum, I mean, when the tester job starts, like after sprint planning, uh, when the developer is still developing, that time we start writing the test cases based on the requirement because the development is still not done. So how we do that?
So the question is, when does the tester job start?
Yeah.
Thing is, that concept remains same. Even so, you've seen that SDLC model, right? Okay, so the traditional waterfall methodology. So as I told you, our job as a tester will start from right from requirement gathering and all those things, right? That is also valid for this. Okay, you might be working on different different like test plan. You might working on test. If your developer is developing some application, you have to start writing a test cases. Okay, that means the point is you have to complete all these things before, because at the end you'll be having 1 or 2 days. In agile you will be having very less time. 2 days, execute your test case, that's it. That's the time you will be left for. Okay, in that case you want to do prior everything to keep ready your writing your test cases. So whenever the developer is developing application, you start writing your test cases as soon as possible, and because you will have some time. Okay, and if there is prior to that, if there is an option like yes, you have to write a requirement test plan document, test strategy document, then you also have to work on that. So that will be before coming to development. Okay, so that concept is also valid for agile. That means you have to start working right from the requirement phase. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you may not just always write test cases. You might also work on documents. Okay, there is documents. Of course, you might not. Lead will be working on test plan or test strategy documents, but you also have to work with them to give the inputs. What is going to go here, what is not going to go here, what is your previous experience, and what you're trying to imply here. So all these things you have to work with the lead or the concerned person. Although lead is not much appeared in this year. Okay, so yeah, sometimes so this is how, right? The agile is actually it's a developing process. So sometimes if you have flexible environment, you can do all this, right? What I'm saying, test plan, test strategy, test cases. But if it's not flexible environment, right? Sometimes you have some aggressive environment. So in that case, you are not allowed to write any other documents except your test case. So you have to work only. You have limited time. Okay, 1 or 2 days, complete your test cases. Next day, start testing. So in that case, you'll be working on more than one project, 2 3 projects. Okay, and you have to work on this. So that can be also a scenario. Okay, is Scrum Master lead of software testers? No, not really. He's not a lead actually. Lead will be a different guy. Okay, but Scrum Master is kind of lead of everyone. Okay, not just testers, developers. Okay, testers, and they actually come together, and if you have any impediments, you have to talk with the scrum master and see how it can be solved. Okay, that's like that. So not always a test scrum master is the lead of testers, lead of whole team. Okay, the whole team, he's supposed to lead it. So that's how it is. Okay, so but coming to actually the picture here, the lead, actually the team lead, right? Sometimes you might have lead, you know, lead you're working on, sometimes doesn't. So it's really here at Agile, it doesn't matter if you're working on some lead or no. Again, if it's flexible environment, then you can work with the lead, or you have to directly work with the Scrum Master. No option working up lead. That might be some scenarios. So how to estimate the time required for testing? That's a very good question. So that's a very important, right? How much time we require to testing? Okay. So in that case, you have to little bit work, study a little bit of the requirements if there's any requirements, or um, you know you have to see the user story. What is the user story saying about? Like, let's say here, let's say we have this user story. Now, since I said this, you have to verify all these documents or everything. So I would take 2 days. Let's say 2 days, because I'm testing the whole application, everything. So not that I'm just using all 8 hours, but I'm trying to understand what the functionalities and features, right? So in that case, I say 2 days. Okay. So that's how you have to, you know, it's a based on work, how much work. Sometimes it goes more than 2 days, but you have to convince your boss, because your boss will say, why did you take this much time? So that's a very good question, actually. You know what my boss asked me? So what my boss asked me, like, why are you taking this much time? I took like 8 hours, one user story. One user story I took 8 hours. That was ETL listing. And my boss, called me this. Why is your task shows 8 hours? I said offshore team is taking only 2 hours, and you are taking 8 hours. That's a question from my boss. So I told like, what, I can do this work in 2 hours, no big deal. But, I have to maintain the quality, I have to make sure that, the way I'm testing it, I'll go in detail of each and every application, each and every module, and each and every thing what is there. And that's what my job is. That's what I will work on it. So that's the reason I'm taking more time. If you want, I can change it 2 hours. My boss said, no, not required. You can do 8 hours. So that's how you have to judge based on how you're trying to test an application. Okay, so that's a good question. How much time you require for testing? So make sure how much time you want it when you're testing an application. Okay, I required more time, and said 2 hours offshore team. I said, yeah, I can do in 2 hours, no big deal. But the quality, the way I maintain the quality, I want to make sure each and every module is working, each and every buttons are working, and everything is right as per the requirement, and I have to work on that. That's the reason I'm taking much time. Okay. Let me know if you want 2 hours. I can change it 2 hours and do. No, not required. Okay. That's how you have to maintain when you get a questions like that. What does the product owner and Scrum Master do? Okay, so it's a question. So here, if you see here, there's some of this product owner job is, see, product owner is like a business analyst. Okay, so it's similar to waterfall methodology, and this is what they will be working on. They'll be working on requirements. What are the requirements, and and that is jot down into user stories, and that user stories comes to developer and testers. That's how it is. So this is the requirements of product owner. They communicate, and they're also invited in daily Scrum. Okay, if you have any questions on this application, is the button, is anything which is not there in the requirement, something missing, in that case you can ask a question here. And Scrum Master is the one who is actually maintaining the team. Okay, he's the not boss. I don't want to say boss, but because Scrum Master doesn't orders to you do what to do or what not to do. Scrum Master, leads the team. That means, okay, this is what you have to do. What are the issues? How are we going to solve these issues? What are the requirements for the team to move forward? So all these things, is done by the Scrum Master. So that's the difference. Product owner is like a stakeholder. That's the business wants. They'll say the product owner says that's the business wants. This is how it should be developed. This is how it should be tested. Okay. They'll give some requirements. So that's the job of a product owner. Any more questions? So tomorrow we'll work on Jira or yeah. I'll be giving you access for that too. So let's see here. Let's pretty quick check it here. So at that time we'll talk about SharePoint actually. Okay. So yeah, Jira. We'll talk about this Jira and see. It's a similar process like Rally, but it's a different UI. User interface is different, and so you can also work on that. Get used to that functionalities and how the thing works, how the UI works. All those things you can try to understand that and see. If you can work on that one. Okay, if no questions, can we close this class for today? Okay, good. Yeah. So this is how. So this is what I wanted, right? You have to be more proactive. If you don't want to talk, that's fine. You have to ping it. So you have to maintain the same thing at the workplace, right? This defines your communication skills. Okay. This defines how well are you good for communicating. So make sure you also make the same, same coordination with your boss and other team members. You should be good. Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys.